Hello and welcome in, you guys. My name is Sai, and today we are here to go through 1127's comment section and see what the hell we were talking about during last week's chapter. Alright, so the top comment and most liked comment last week is: the real nightmare is waking up next to 1,000 bottles of baby oil. And yeah, I mean, I just gotta say, I'm happy Nami, Usopp, and the boys didn't have to deal with that nightmare scenario. But we do have to remember that we don't know where Chopper is. You know, like, Chopper is somewhere here on Elbaf, he's somewhere here on Warland, and maybe, just maybe, there's 1,000 bottles of baby oil right next to him. And now, for the comment below that, they say, the crew is in Elbaf, what a time to be alive. And I agree. I mean, I say this every video, but we quite literally have waited 1,000 chapters for this very day. And I'm excited, man. Even as somebody who doesn't like giants in general, I want to see what they're cooking here. You know, I want to see if Oda can thaw my racist heart and make me like giants by the end of this island. All right, so the next comment says, Sanji already using his Wano power-up this early, while Luffy and Zoro haven't used their ACOC, Gear 5th, or King of Hell mode. Sanji might get a new power-up in this arc, while Luffy and Zoro polish their Conqueror's Haki. And, you know, I'm not really a big power scaler by any means, but I also found this really interesting too, because, yeah, Sanji did use Ifrit Jambe. You know, Luffy used Gear 4th, Zoro used Dragon Twister, so Sanji using, you know, his quote strongest form did strike me as a little bit odd. I don't know though if this instance necessarily means that Sanji needs a power-up to keep up with Luffy and Zoro. I mean, granted, power-ups are always good for every character, but for Sanji though, since we're in Elbaf and, you know, it's a brand new culture, maybe he just learns how to cook new food, and that food can be used to power up the crew or power up himself, which is something that they introduced back in Kamabaka Queendom. You know, remember back when Sanji had his time skip training arc, and Ivankov was like, oh, you know, I'll teach you the 99 recipes, and when you eat these recipes, you'll get stronger, your crew will get stronger, and then we never saw the fallout of that. So maybe Sanji will learn some things from the giants. In this latest chapter, Sanji did mention that the bees they killed off screen did have really nutritious honey. So maybe something's going to happen there. Outside of that, though, you mentioned it here. Luffy and Zoro could polish up Conqueror's Haki. And as far as Sanji goes, I think he could definitely polish up his observation Haki. You know, Sanji does have future sight to some extent. So seeing him polish that, seeing him get as crazy as Shanks or, you know, the other observation Haki users of the series would be pretty dope. This chapter really got me smiling and happy when my car broke down before work and having to do a double shift. It felt like One Piece, the romance, the air of adventure of being in an unknown island, the Straw Hats separated, and already causing problems. No better way to start off the long-awaited Elbaf arc. Side note, Usopp not having a good start to this arc. It was funny seeing classic Usopp, Nami's doing her thing, and there's so much more I want to comment on, but it'll run the risk of my comment not getting picked. That's actually kind of funny. The funniest part is that I don't read the full comments when I usually pick them, so I didn't even know you're going to say that at the end. But outside of this though, I 100% agree. This does remind me of old school One Piece. Just having the current characters we have on the island be there, I think is phenomenal. The comedy really hits, and I'm excited to see what happens here on Elbaf, right? We don't know anything about it. You know, I bet if you guys watch other YouTubers, if you go online and see discussions, everybody has such a different take on Elbaf, and I think that's a lot of fun. We came into this island with no prior knowledge. You know, we knew about Loki, but he's still silhouetted. We knew there's a giant tree there, but we still don't know what the hell is going on with that. All we really know for sure is that it has a Norse theme to it, and that's about it. We don't even know if there's a villain on the island. You know, people are saying Loki might be the villain, and I'm kind of 50-50 on that one myself. But yeah, we really don't know what to expect. You know, there's also the guy off the coast. Is it Shiki? Is it Scopper? Is Enel gonna come down from the sky? Are we gonna see a Rouge? I don't know. All right, so this next comment says, I wonder if Luffy can speak with the Yggdrasil in any way with the voice of all things. Like maybe it has a will of its own. I'm buzzed LMAO. So funny enough, even though you're buzzed, you did propose a pretty good question here. So back in Zoe, when the Straw Hats landed, when we got the Roger flashback with Odin, they all noted that the whale tree felt weird. It felt like somebody was watching them. Of course, they could be referring to Zunisha or maybe even the poneglyphs, but there is a chance that something was going on with that whale tree. I mean, we don't even know what's going on with it, right? Why is it shaped as a whale? Is it a real whale? We have no clue. But there could be some shenanigans going on with the Yggdrasil tree in that same manner. Maybe Luffy gets close to it and he's like, wait a minute. I sense something. Something odd is going on with this tree. I think that could totally be the case. We've seen instances in the series before where trees are strange. I mean, the trees in Skypiea, for example, right? They housed the spirits of the dead, as the Shandorans believed in, but Noland was like, oh, wait a minute, these trees are poisonous. It kind of makes me wonder if something like that might happen here, where Luffy has some weird insight about the Yggdrasil tree because of either the voice of all things or because of his Sun God Nika fruit. We did hear back in Wano, when the Gorse were talking about the Sun God Nika fruit, that it seemed to have a will of its own. Now that Luffy, the Sun God, is going to Elbaf, the home of Sun God Nika, maybe Luffy's fruit will go haywire. Maybe Luffy goes gear 5th, and then he starts looking at the trees, looking at the giants, and he just goes berserk. I think that could actually happen. Maybe you bring that fruit back to its origins, and it loses its mind, or maybe it powers him up. All right, so the comment below that, though, they say, every outdoor panel in this chapter had a slight upwards tilt, and we never saw the ground outside the castle. I think this portion of Warland is at the top of Yggdrasil, where the royal palace and family reside, and the town is built on an island cloud. The bottom of the tree has been seen in the background of other panels depicting Elbaf, and it is absolutely massive. It doesn't seem to match with the thickness of the Yggdrasil we see in this chapter, especially seeing the top of it. This section of Warland is at the top of Yggdrasil on some island clouds, and Elbaf is on the ground level, where the base of the tree is. This theory has been around for a while, and I think we're getting evidence for it in this chapter. And I agree. I'm starting to believe that we are, maybe not like on a cloud per se, but we are in the sky. I feel like this Yggdrasil tree is going to be absolutely massive, and just like how Yggdrasil in Norse mythology holds the 9 realms, I think we're going to see some form of that here in One Piece. Maybe there's 9 levels of the Yggdrasil tree, right? Maybe we're on level 9, which is the tippity top of it, since we can see the top of the tree in general. I like this theory a lot, and I like it so much, I also want to spin the opposite way as well. Maybe it not just goes way up in the sky, but maybe it goes really down into the ground too. And that might sound insane at first, but if the Yggdrasil tree really is the Atom tree, then one thing we know that the Eve tree does is that it takes sunlight and oxygen from above and it brings it down to its very roots. That's why Fishman Island has sunlight, and that's why they have oxygen as well. So if this is the Atom tree here, the Yggdrasil tree, then perhaps Elbaf also goes down a couple levels and it goes down to the roots, right? Maybe the roots of the tree can house an underground civilization where the giants live too. I don't know how big that underground cave would have to be to fit giants, but I do think it would be a pretty cool idea, right? We haven't seen an underground cave in One Piece before. So I like this a lot. Send Yggdrasil all the way up to the heavens, send it all the way down to hell. I think Oda can make this work. And I'm actually excited for the geography of an island for once in One Piece. Never before have I entered a new arc and I'm like, hey, how does this place work? What does it actually look like? Saturn. I was jobbed and killed off unlike other major villains so the Straw Hats could beat up giant shape-shifting animals. No fair. And yeah, the funniest part is that Dory and Brogy kind of prepared us for this as well. Back when they first saw the Gorse, they had a little small side conversation where they were like, hey, these guys, they kind of remind me of the animals of Elbaf. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if the giants have been fighting those giant animals this entire time, then I bet seeing the Gorse and their weird transformations isn't exactly too shocking, right? It explains why, Oimo, Kashi, and the rest of them were so casually boxing the Gorosei, and that's simply because they're just used to fighting big, weird creatures. And now, for the comment below that, they say the idea of Chopper being mistaken for an Elbaf god reminds me of C-3PO being mistaken by a god by the Ewoks. That is an old reference. I haven't watched Star Wars in so long, but yes, I love it, and I am fully on board the theory train that Chopper will be mistaken for a god either next chapter or somewhere down the line. Like, Chopper's crazy. Chopper can transform, he can talk to animals, like the guy is a straight anomaly. On an island where animals are revered, I think Chopper, no joke, will prosper. I saw a commentary on Twitter where someone made the comparison between Usopp and Obelisk from the Asterisk and Obelisk cartoon. And I will say, their attributes are quite similar, and the outfit Usopp is wearing is also similar as well. Okay, so I'm not familiar with this, so I'm gonna have to look it up real quick. Okay, so this is the cartoon that he was referring to. Sorry, I don't have like a better image quality for this, but yeah, I can totally see it. I mean, this is pretty much what Usopp's wearing, pants-wise. I mean, hey, this is even the thumbnail of the video, so yeah, you guys can see it firsthand. And yeah, I could totally see that. I love obscure references like this, but of course, I have no idea if this is what Oda was going for, but I will bookmark this for the future. I mean, you never know, right? Oda is a man of culture. He's a man that has watched many movies, many cartoons. A lot of events in One Piece are inspired by movies, as stated by Oda himself. So yeah, maybe this is the reference that Oda was going for. All right, so this comment says, the cat could be the sun god. It did turn into a lion, and the monster trio killing their sun god and ear god is enough to create tension at the start of the arc. And I do agree with that. I could totally see there being a scenario where Luffy meets the giants and they're like, hey, did you guys see a giant rabbit hopping around here? And then Luffy says, yeah, we killed him and ate him. I could see the giants being upset, right? Especially with the rabbit having that title. Maybe they revered him. Maybe the ear god was a good friend of theirs. Maybe he brought in a nice haul of food every spring. And then Luffy just, rained on that parade. I could totally see them being mad when it comes to that. But then again, we don't know Warlands or Elbaf's culture yet, right? This is the land of giants. Giants are known for fighting. Dorian Broggie are a prime example of that. They just love fighting over and over and over again. Even on Little Garden, they were over there killing the dinosaurs, That is how their argument first started. So maybe they'll look at Luffy beating the ear god and eating him as a sign of nature running its course. Maybe they see that and they're like, oh, well, the ear god lost. What can we say, right? This is Warland, baby. It's eat or be eaten here. Maybe that's the case, but of course, like I said, we have no idea how their culture actually functions yet. As far as the cat-lion being the sun god, I like that theory a lot, and we have seen time and time again that Oda has made lions synonymous with the sun. So this right here wouldn't be super far-fetched, but the only problem, or at least the only hang-up for me, is that they saw the fire, right? The giants saw the fire in the woods, and their first instinct was to say, hey, we need to tell the sun god about this. How would the cat lion have dealt with that scenario, right? Can the giants talk to it? Would it have helped them? Because I don't know. Like, the cat lion didn't talk to Nami, it didn't talk to Usopp, it didn't say anything to the trio. So I'm just imagining a scenario where the giants of Elbaf walk up to that giant cat and they're like, hey buddy, the forest is on fire. And then the cat just attacks them? I don't know. That is why I think it's a person, or it has to be a person, simply because it seemed like whoever the sun god was would have dealt with the fire in the forest, whereas the cat-lion probably wouldn't have done anything. But of course, that's just my opinion there. So the comment below, they say, I wonder if Big Stein Castle was built for Loki's personal pets, and the skulls are the humans he feeds to them. So I like this theory a lot. Of course, we've talked about this before here on the channel, but yeah, having this be a personal playhouse for his pets, for his cats, for his hedgehogs and bees, I like it. The one holdup though, is that if this is a playhouse for Loki, Where are the guards? Where's the other giants? And also, does this mean that Loki is a cruel person? You know, does he throw humans in here that he doesn't like? You know, maybe Loki's racist? You know, just like how I don't like giants, maybe Loki doesn't like humans. Like, we gotta know more about him. But base level, I think this is a pretty good assumption. I personally thought it was a prison because we saw human skulls too, right? Maybe they throw the bad humans in here, you know, people who invaded their country, and they have to prove themselves, and boom, that's why we have skulls, because they couldn't make the cut. But yeah, I like this idea a lot. And of course, we should be getting answers pretty soon, hopefully. You know, 1128, man, it's around the corner. I died when Luffy mentioned eating the ear god. What a menace. Yeah, I mean, just imagine if somebody rolled up to the Straw Hats or rolled up onto Chopper and they killed him and ate him. Wouldn't that be a little bit nuts? I mean, of course, Chopper's different because he can talk, but just imagine they knocked him out so quickly Chopper couldn't get a word in, right? Like, you'd be pretty upset at that. So, like, Luffy coming in and eating one of Elbaph's gods is wild. I mean, did he talk to the guy? Did he try to, like, you know, voice of all things, reason with him? Also, Luffy has Conqueror's Haki. You know, when Luffy showed up on the shores of Elbaf, he didn't eat the animals. Well, he later ate some, you know, poisonous animals, but Luffy didn't eat the first animal he saw. No. He used his Conqueror's Haki. He subdued it. Same with Fishman Island. It's like, damn, dude. What did the ear god do to these guys, man? Was he tasty even? I don't know. So below, they say, I'm willing to bet that the bees in Elbaf confused the Sunny with the sunflower and carried the ship to their beehive. That's why the Straw Hats in the Sunny were the only ones kidnapped. Whoa, wait a minute. This is a really good idea. Yeah, no, 100%. See, like, when I thought about the Sunny, I was like, oh, maybe they coup de burst. Maybe they just simply kept on going forward without the other Straw Hats noticing. But if they were carried away into the sky, this would be really... No, this is good. Yeah, no, this would explain the bees. Huh. I think the only thing we're missing is the beehive. Wait a minute. Sanji mentioned honey, right? I think I talked about that earlier, but I think Sanji mentioned honey. Yeah, it's done. It's done. Sanji mentioned the beehive. So I think this is possible. This is very possible. The only thing that doesn't make sense, though, is that the monster trio saw the hive, they saw the bees, but they didn't see the Thousand Sunny. So where's the Sunny then, right? Is it off the coast of Elbaf? Did the bees drop it somewhere along the way? I think that's the one qualm I have about this theory. But besides that, I think this is a fantastic idea, brother. I really do. All right, so this comment right here actually quoted something I said. And I said, hey, you know, if Chopper's a god, what would he be the god of? And I just pointed out that Chopper has horns, so maybe he's the god of horniness. I don't think it's that far-fetched, you know, I know what I meant. But they say my guy's been looking at Nami for way too long. And below, they say Sai is the god of horniness. I still remember BDA Law's face from the other week when Sai said he wants to eat out Yamato. Alright, hear me out. When it comes to women in One Piece, every guy has their taste, right? I'm gonna say it right here. Nami, not even top 5 for me. Number 1, it's gotta go to Perona. Number 2, Yamato. Number 3, Black Maria. Number 4, Boa Hancock. And then number 5, that's my 5 right there. Nami and Robin, they would be in the top 10. But let me tell you, I got my 5 locked in right now. All right, so this comment says, I think it is very interesting that they used the same paneling as Alabasta when they punched the cat. This makes me think that Vivi might make an appearance soon, but I could be overthinking it. And below, they say them being the OG crew as well makes me hope for Vivi. It would honestly be time, and it would fit if Morgans drops her off on Elbaf. And I agree. I forgot to mention this during the video, but yes, I totally could see Vivi stopping here on Elbaf, and if Yggdrasil goes all the way up to the sky, and if that's where the Straw Hats are, then yeah. I mean, Big News Morgans has an airship, so he could be the first person we see. You know, we could go to the coast of, well, the coast of the island the Straw Hats are on, because that's where Zoro wanted to go, and maybe they'll realize that they're all the way up in the sky. And they're like, oh, wait, you know, the Thousand Sunny, you know, the giant ship, it's nowhere here. And then they look over the horizon and boom, you got big news, Morgans and Vivi, on the way. And you know what? One thing I just thought of, but a lot of people have been hyping up a Rouge to come into the story, right? You know, one of the main supernovas we're missing, the only supernova we have not met yet on our journey, has been a Rouge. And people have been saying, you know, Elbaf is gonna be a Rouge's time to shine. And I didn't really picture how he would fit in, but if we are in the sky right now, then a Rouge would fit in. Because a Rouge lived on a sky island. He lived in Burka alongside Enel and the rest of the priests. So maybe, you know, we're going to see another skyship come around and it's actually a Rouge's ship. I think that'd be pretty solid. Yeah, bring in a Rouge, bring in Vivi. We could have Vivi tell us about the whole King Cobra situation and the situation with Sabo. I think this would work out really damn well. Usopp, I want to be a brave warrior of the sea. Then he proceeds to get used as a shield. And the comment below, the reply says, more proof that Usopp is not Sogeking, because Sogeking was used as a sword. And you know what, brother? That's a really good observation. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Usopp was used as a shield and a sword. What's next? What's next? Are people gonna start sitting on his nose? But yeah, spinning this over to a different topic, I remember reading this chapter and checking out the online discourse, and a lot of people were really disappointed in Usopp in this chapter, and I don't know why. I mean, I get it, right? Usopp, he couldn't beat the cat, he couldn't beat the lion, but I've seen people say that this arc isn't gonna be for him because he started off with an L. And I was like, okay, you know, sure, it's an L. You know, he couldn't beat the cat, he couldn't beat the lion, fine. But character growth comes in baby steps, man. You know, this is how he started the arc. Maybe by the end of the arc, Usopp will stand up to a giant cat, lion, sun god thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm coping, but I do think Oda will give Usopp a really good polishing on this island. I mean, hell, all the Straw Hats eventually are going to have to succeed when it comes to their dreams, and I believe Usopp's going to be no different. So on this arc, he needs to take at least one step on his journey when it comes to becoming a brave warrior of the sea. All right, so this comment says, this might be a stretch, but the fact that Sanji got a sword and Zoro got glasses may foreshadow Sanji training his armament Haki and Zoro training his observation Haki. My guy. Dude, we got a lot of chefs in the kitchen today, man. Okay, I like this. Damn, I really do think this is solid. I mean, it makes sense too, right? Sanji could learn Ryuo, and then Zoro could learn Future Sight, and they would just fill the gaps. No, that's great. I like that. As far as Luffy goes, like, what would Luffy learn? Well, no, Luffy would learn about his devil fruit. Yeah, I mean, it's Elbaf, right? I'm sure. Dude, there has to be, like, historical texts saying how Sun God Nika fought. And then Luffy could just learn by reading comic strips or, you know, hearing stories about Sun God Nika and what he could do. Yeah, no, I like this a lot. I mean, and here's the thing too, right? I mention all the time, Elbaf is going to be Usopp's arc, it's going to be blah, blah, blah's arc. You know, this guy's going to learn something, that guy's going to learn something. And here's the thing. Across the board, I think all the Straw Hats are going to get something out of Elbaf. And I was struggling. I was struggling to think about what Sanji and Zoro's takeaway would be. But this right here is a really good guess. I like this a lot. All right, so this comment says, do you think it's all a hallucination with Luffy getting attack names wrong and the inconsistencies with the costumes? Nami's sword disappearing and Luffy's sword turning into an axe. So, personally, I've talked to a lot of my friends who read One Piece. I've talked to Par, Brago, Hidden, a couple of other One Piece creators, and throughout a majority of my conversations, I have been alone in the mindset that these are all mistakes. And I know, I've seen all the other videos I've talked about this on, I've looked at the comments, and a lot of people disagree with me. But I think partially it's because I'm stubborn, but another part is because I genuinely believe that these are just mistakes. I mean, Luffy mixing up Gear 3, Gear 4, I think that's an editorial mistake, right? We've seen mistakes in the manga before. The inconsistencies in the costumes, I rationalize that saying, oh, Oda has, you know, double-digit editors working on a single chapter every week. It's a brand new arc. They have brand new costumes. I can forgive all of this as human error. I really do. We've seen mistakes before in One Piece. go back to any volume that has ever released, there's at least 10 or so mistakes per volume. That's just how it is. So I do think that these are just inconsistencies. I don't think it's a hallucination. But like I said, everybody I've talked to, the majority of comments I've seen regarding the inconsistencies all seem to believe that this is either the Green Fairy at work or maybe it's Loki. And I don't hate the idea. Don't get me wrong, right? I don't agree with it, but I don't hate it. Personally, what I would have needed to make me believe in this theory would be if we had a one-off panel. There doesn't even have to be dialogue in that panel, but just the character looking at Luffy with a weird look on their face, right? They look at Luffy after he does gear 3rd, gear 4th, and they're like, wait, just staring at him. I feel like that's what I'm missing, because whenever Oda has a mystery in the series, he kind of makes it obvious that something is afoot. These inconsistencies, they're like background details in my opinion. Like, they're not enough to make me believe that this is what Oda's going for. But like I said, that's just how I feel about the situation. Maybe come next chapter, I'll change my tune, but honestly, I do just believe that these are all mistakes with the team. I feel like these are all going to be fixed when the volume releases, and we're going to have like an entire laundry list of things Oda and his team are going to have to clean up and change around. But like I said, that's just me. All of my friends, everybody I've seen, they all believe it's hallucinations and or Loki. It's kind of sad because I'm like the one man over here just like, guys, it's mistakes, please. And now I'm kind of like rooting for my side in a way, which is sad to say. I'm not like vindictive, but now I'm just like, okay, I'm the only guy here. I hope come next week, I'm not seen as the village lunatic, right? And you know what? One of the reasons why I think it would really suck for me is because I talk about so many crazy theories. Whether it's in this video or all my collabs or my other videos, I have insane theories. So the fact that I'm not on board with this one, it's just strange. You would think that, oh, if a hallucination thing's happening, Sai would be on board. But for the first time ever, I'm not. And I don't know. 1128. Man, 1128 cannot come soon enough. All right, so this comment says, Norse mythology has reindeer caring for Yggdrasil. And below, the response says, maybe the tree has an illness that threatens its life. And that's why the giant was afraid that the simple fire would destroy it. Maybe Chopper can help it with his medical knowledge or something. So, two things. First off, yes, Norse mythology has deer-reindeer caring for Yggdrasil. They don't necessarily care for it, they eat its foliage. I kind of like did some research into it. But yes, deer are pretty much revered in Norse mythology. So yeah, that's another reason why I believe Chopper can be seen as a god here on this island. I think that's very plausible. And when it comes to that, I also have a theory cooking on the sidelines, which should be out sometime this week, but it pretty much talks about how Chopper could learn about his dream while he's here on the island, or at least step towards it, right? Because Chopper wants to cure every illness in the world. So maybe the Atom Tree or Yggdrasil Tree will play a big role in that. Maybe the tree is medicinal, or maybe the tree is sick, like the second comment here is suggesting. And speaking of the tree being sick, so much so to where a simple fire could destroy it, I think that'd be really good foreshadowing with Aramaki, Green Bull. Because on Wano, when Admiral Ryokugyu showed up, I just used like 3 different names for him. I called him Aramaki, Green Bull, and then Ryokugyu. But when he showed up there, Momonosuke hit him with the bolo breath, and then he caught fire, he was screaming, and then he got back up and he said, oh, do you really think a fire will take me down? And then he said, oh, here's my fireproof forest ability. So yeah, I think it would be a nice like twist if the Yggdrasil tree really was susceptible to fire, unlike Admiral Ryokugyu. All right, so this comment says, the fangirl in me also wants to see Sanji use his swords and surprise Zoro that he knows how to use one. Sanji's and Nami's fits are also the best. So as far as Sanji goes, he kind of does know how to use a sword. You know, going back to Enies Lobby Water 7, when Sanji fought Wanzi, I forgot his name, but the Ramen Kempo guy, Sanji really put the work in on that guy. So he knows how to wield a blade. But will he wield a sword though, right? Because a sword and a knife to Sanji are two different things. You know, like the fanboy in me wants to see Sanji use a sword too, but I don't think that's in the cards. Which again, makes me wonder if they're ever gonna mention the weapons on their backs. Like Luffy and his axe, or Sanji and his sword, or Nami and... I think Nami has a sword too. But it's like, wait, guys, are you not gonna like look at it at least a little bit? Like, hey, what is this thing? You know, how did this get here? As far as fits though, yeah, I think Sanji and Nami's are pretty solid. I like all of them. You know, minus Zoro's giant shoulder pads, I think they're all phenomenal. All right, so the comment right below that, they say, it's cute. It's like a shout out to when Luffy, Ace, and Sabo fought the saber-toothed lion when they were kids. Luffy and his pirate brothers now fight a new lion. Yeah, I mean, seeing Luffy happy, it's always a good day, right? When you think about where he started and where he is now, I love it. All right, so this comment says, I prefer to stick to my own theory that the reason everything in the village is made of Legos in this chapter and not when previously seen is because when we saw Elbaf in Big Mom's flashback, that was well over 60 years in the past. So to me, it makes more sense that in time, the giant's architecture and building materials have evolved, rather than it being the work of a devil fruit. So far, my own theory that Elbaf will be a giant Legoland looks good. Can't wait to see more of Elbaf. Me too, brother. So as far as the Legos go, I agree. It doesn't have to be anything fantastical. It doesn't have to be a devil fruit. This could simply be something they find off the coast of Elbaf or something they find underground, right? Maybe they're mining and then boom, they have Lego ore or Lego clay and then they mold it into the bricks we see today. I think that right there can be a very easy explanation. Of course, you mentioned why in Big Mom's flashback we saw wood, and that's because it was a long time ago. That could be the case, but here's the thing. I think that the Lego blocks that we see, I think that's just for the royalty or just the higher class civilization of Elbaf. And I think the people below, I don't know why I'm like, dude, ever since we talked about the Yggdrasil being like a multi-layered tree, that's kind of just what I'm going with now. But I could see Legos only being around Loki and his group and whoever else has money to afford it. And then the outskirts of Elbaf are all wooden, like what we saw with Shanks, because Shanks was at a bar with some giant kid, with some giant women, with Dorian, Brogy, Oimo, and Kashi. And, you know, that was made out of wood. There was no Legos to be seen. So, yes, I think the Legos could be something that they find naturally. But even if that is the case, I don't think all of Elbaf has it quite yet. I think it is just isolated to a certain area or realm of Elbaf. But yeah, I like the theory. I think it's pretty solid. And one thing I'm kind of wondering now is if we'll see Lego weaponry, because that should exist, right? I feel like before you make houses, before you make, you know, dungeons and castles out of materials, you want to try and use it for weaponry, especially for a country like Elbaf, who take pride in fighting. All right, so this comment, and I think the last comment of the video, says, this might be kind of crazy, but there might be a chance that the sun god the giants are referring to was Pandora, the fire homie that was made by Mother Carmel. Assuming Big Mom did perish in the volcano on Wano, this would prove the homies can live after the user passes on, which means Pandora could potentially still be alive and is surviving off of the remaining lifespan Mother Carmel gave to them. We also don't know what an awakened Soru no Mi user looks like, so maybe homies living after a user's death would be part of that awakening. I like it. We don't know what happened to Pandora. Pandora was made one day, and then we never saw Pandora again. So yeah, if Pandora is the sun god, I think that would make sense. It looks like the sun, it can control fire, and if Pandora was the sun god they're talking about, then Pandora would have been able to solve the forest fire that Luffy and the crew started. So yeah, this right here, I think is a really solid theory, and there's not really anything to go against it. You know, and the giants loved Mother Carmel. They loved that lady. They didn't know she was bad. So yeah, if she did leave Pandora here on the island, I do think the giants would revere it. Outside of this though, for some reason this spawned a wacky, kooky idea, but maybe the sun god is the Thousand Sunny. Sounds weird, right? But in Film Red, Oda concocted an abomination. He made the Thousand Sunny come to life in Uta's dream. And the Thousand Sunny was like, you know, walking around. It was kind of talking. I think it just said Sunny, 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 like a Pokemon. But if that did happen, maybe the Sunny could even be the sun god. I don't know. I mean, granted, the Sunny just got there like yesterday, so I doubt it would be the sun god. I think Pandora is the more logical option if it's not the cat lion. But yeah, great ideas overall. But hey, that is gonna do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I really freaking appreciate it. Thank you so much for commenting on the 1127 video. I love doing these. I love seeing what you guys have to say, because a lot of these ideas and theories that you guys brought up here are things that I haven't even thought of, right? So I love that we have this little community going. I love that we can just shoot these ideas out there. And I'm excited for 1128 and what that's gonna bring. Will I look like the village idiot? And will all of the mistakes and inconsistencies in this chapter be substantiated or not? And also, what does Elbaf really look like, right? What is Warland really going to offer us? Are we in the sky? Are we on the ground? Are these even giants we see in this chapter? What is with this upward tilt? What is going on with the Legos? There are so many questions, and I am just excited to be here, man. I really am. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much again for watching. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.